Okay, so before we can use our offsite database in our app, we need to set it up. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to use a Google product. It's called Firebase. This is not the only product out there. There are actually a lot of other free databases that you could set up. This just happens to be the one that I think is going to be most convenient because it is a Google product and we have Google accounts. So you go to firebase.google.com, firebase.google.com, and it'll take you to a landing page that looks like this. So once you get here, you want to make sure that you're signed into your Google account, whichever account you want to use. And from here, we're going to go here, go to console. So we're going to click on that. That's going to take us to a page that looks like this. So at this point, there's nothing here. This would be where it would list all our different projects, all the different databases that we want to create. But for now, there's nothing. Okay, so we're going to go here, create a project. We're going to click on that. And then that's going to take us to a page that looks like this. So you're going to enter a name for your project. Okay, whatever you're going to call it. Just for demo purposes, I'll call this a demo database. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. And then I'm going to click continue. I'm going to take you to a page like this. For now, I'm going to disable. Google Analytics is an extra service that they provide if you want to get real detailed stats on how your database is functioning. You can do that, but then you've got to set up some other stuff that goes along with it. So for now, I'm just going to uncheck that. I don't want to bother with that for now. And then I'm going to create my project. So it'll do its thing behind the scenes. It's setting things up for us. And then in hopefully not too many seconds, we'll be able to go. Okay, so it looks like things are ready for us. I'm just going to click continue. And now it's going to take me back to now it's in my console for my new database. So here's my demo database. Okay, so before we can actually use this in our project to store some data, persistent data, and then retrieve it, we're going to need to set a few things up. Okay, so on the left over here is this is our menu of all the different things that we can do. Okay, so we're gonna do a couple of things. First, we're gonna go to this real-time database. Okay, so we're gonna go to real-time database. We're gonna click on that. It's gonna take us to a page that looks like this. Okay, so we're gonna want to create a database. We're gonna want to create a real-time database that we can actually use in production. Okay, so we're gonna click on this white button here. You can just leave this pretty much as it is. You don't need to really change that, and you click next. From here, okay, so it's going to give us two options. What we want to choose is we want to start in test mode. We're not ready to deploy this in a production mode yet for an app that is actually finished and we're able to roll it out to people. We're now just in the testing phase. Okay, so you want to click this one, start in test mode, and then you click enable. Okay, and it's going to bring up a page that looks like this. Now, for now, it looks kind of cryptic. It's hard to tell what's going on here, but once you see a page that looks like this, then this part is all set. Okay, a couple more things. So let's go now to this link right here that says Firestore. And we're going to click on Firestore. It's going to take us to a page like this, and we're going to want to create a database. Okay, it's going to bring up the same options, and we're going to want to change that to test mode. And we click next. Okay. You can just accept all the defaults, click enable, and then it's going to set up what's called a Firestore for us. Okay, so now remember, this is a professional level product provided by Google. So this is, professional people and big companies use these services. So there's a lot of stuff there. So the setup is sometimes the hardest part. Okay, so it's going to set some stuff up here for us. You get a page that looks like this, and you're good to go. Okay. Finally, we're going to go up here where it says Authentication. Okay, so it allows us, the neat thing about this is it allows us to set up really easily for something that pretty much every app does, which is allows users to create accounts. So you have a username, password type thing, and it allows you to really automate and really take a lot of the hassle out of authentication, which is checking to see user credentials are correct. Okay, so we get here, you're going to click on this button, which is Get Started. So we're going to click there. It's going to take us to a page that looks like this. Okay, so these are all different ways that you can have people sign in. You know, like for some apps, you can use your Google account to sign in. Others, you can use your Facebook, or you can use Twitter, or you can use Microsoft. You can use all your social media accounts to sign in. Okay, and later on, you can play around with that if that's what you want to do. But for now, we're just going to go with the old-fashioned email password. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is notice this first line here, email password is currently disabled. Okay, you're going to click on this pencil here on the right. That's going to allow us to edit it. Okay, so once you get here, then you go to enable, you check that, and save. Okay, so now it's enabled, and now we're all set. Okay, now I'm going to show you one more thing. I'm going to come back here. Okay, you see the gear here right next to the project overview. If I click on the gear, and I got a few things here. If we go to project settings, let me show you some stuff over here. Okay, so project settings, you get all these kind of cryptic codes and things. Okay, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make an app. Okay, so this is kind of like the interface that we can use to connect with our database. So we're going to make an app. Now, there's the options of making an iOS, an Android, or a web app. For now, let's just do a web app. Okay, it's going to be sufficient for what we want to do, which is basically testing and prototyping. Okay, if you take your app to the point where you're ready to make a production version of it, then we can worry about the other two options. But for now, let's just make a web app. So I'm going to click on this right here. Okay, that's going to take me to a screen that looks like this. And you can give it a nickname, whatever nickname you want. And we can just take their suggestion. I'm going to call it My Web App. Okay, you can ignore this checkbox and just go to Register App. Okay, so then it'll do its thing. And now it gives you this code right here. For now, we don't need to worry about this. Okay, so we can kind of just X out of this screen. And so now you see in our project setup, here's our web app right here. So we can see it listed here. Okay, now let me show you. So in this information about the web app, okay, notice there's this part right here, this Firebase Sdk Snippet. Okay, so this is going to eventually come in important. So if I click on Config, if I choose this checkbox Config, this button here, notice it gives me all this stuff right here. Okay, so it gives me all this information. Now, right now, that's kind of cryptic and, okay, all these weird codes, what do we need this for? Well, this is basically when we have our app on our device and we want to be able to connect to this database to either sign in or create a new account or store information, whatever, we're going to need, these are basically credentials. To connect to a database, you need more than just a username and password. You need, if you're from the app, you want to connect to your database, you need a bunch of stuff. More than just like a user signing into an account. You need a bunch of stuff. So remember this. This is going to come in handy once we set up our app. Don't need to worry about exactly what all those things mean right now, but eventually when we're setting up our app on React Native, we're going to need to come back and copy and paste this stuff in somewhere. Okay, so remember you go to find that stuff, you go here, project overview, go on the gear, project settings, and then once you get to the project settings page, then if you just kind of scroll down to your apps list in your web app, and you go to your config, make sure config is checked here. And then all this stuff here, then we can come back later on when we're going to need it, and we're going to copy it in and we're going to need to paste it somewhere into our React Native app in order to allow it to connect to our database. Okay, but once you got to this point, if you got to this point and you got something that looks like this, then you're good to go as far as setting up the database. Okay, so now we have a live database. There's nothing in it. It's waiting for us to connect to it and to store some stuff in it. Okay, so the next part is from the React Native side, from our app side, how do we get it to connect to this database?